sent the link. Why don't you check once?
Okay. Can we play both of them simultaneously in here?
What do you mean?
Now we played like Zoom అక్కడ ప్లే చేసాం కదా, ఇది ఇందులో OBS ఇక్కడ ఉంది. బట్ ఇఫ్ యూ వాంట్ లైక్ జూమ్ కూడా ఇందులో చేయాలి, డైరెక్ట్ జూమ్ సెలెక్ట్ చేయొచ్చు ఇక్కడ కంప్యూటర్ విండో షేర్ ది.
I can do Zoom.
Okay.
And I can play here also.
Okay.
But only thing is, I mean, if I'm projecting this, then if I'm doing anything here, they will also keep watching what all changes I'm doing.
Okay, got it.
But it can be done, not a problem.
Okay.
I think you're not muted there.
Yeah, I muted it. Do you want me to unmute my phone?
No, you have to mute it.
I muted it.
So did Palimata use a mic?
Yeah, she is here only.
No, did she use a mic?
No. Only one mic is working today. That is the problem.
Others. Vasudevasya of Vasudeva. Devatyam of Devati. Rajitaha we pray for. Abhyaha to birth. Ajaha unborn. From you are. Asya of many. Shemaya for the good. Vadhaya for the purposes of killing. Cha and Suratisham of those who are envious of the living gods. Others say that since both Vasudeva and Devaki prayed for you, you have taken your birth as their son. Undoubtedly, you are unborn, yet you take your birth for their welfare and to kill those who are envious of the living gods. Translation and repetition. Others say that
Since
both Vasudeva
and Devaki
and Devaki prayed for you, you have taken your birth as their son. Undoubtedly, you are unborn, yet you take your birth for their welfare and to kill those who are envious of the living gods. It is also said that Vasudeva and Devaki, in their previous birth, as Sunapa and Krishna, underwent a severe kind of penance to get the Lord as their son. And as a result of such austerities, the Lord appeared as their son. It is already declared in the Bhagavad Gita that the Lord appears for the welfare of all people of the world and to vanquish the asuras of the materialistic atheists. Thus ends wonderful transcendental Bhagavad.
Om Vishnu Padaya Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvisheshana Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshitanini Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. We have been studying wonderful prayers by King Balaram, and within this set of prayers, we are in a subsection within the set of prayers. This subsection is providing some of the reasons why the Lord appears. Is giving various set of reasons why the Lord appears. Last week we saw Kechida Bhajan Jatam, Punya Shloka Sriti Yado Priyas Yam why Manayasi Chandra. Some say that the unborn is born for the glorification of the pious kings, and others say that he is born to please King Yadu, one of the dearest devotees. You appear in his family as Samuel appears in Malaya Hills. We have seen that there was a married, there was a apparent contradiction in words. Unborn is born, and there are multiple reasons given here. First is that he appears for the glorification of the pious kings. Others say that he is born to please King Yadu, one of the dearest devotees. As such, the Lord could appear in any family, but he chose to appear in the family of King Yadu because he was a dear devotee. And today we are seeing continuation, because if you see in the translation as well as in the purport, there is a continuation from the previous verse. The translation says, others say that since both Vasudeva and Devaki prayed for you. So that means it's a continuation from a previous verse. And then in the purport also it is starting off by saying, it is also said that. That means already certain things have been said, and now it's continuing. So it is useful to recall in such cases the previous verse, as we are now as I said, in a subsection where various reasons for appearance of the Lord is being discussed. And in today's verse, there are multiple reasons given, still more reasons. Vasudevasya devakyam yachitah abhyagat. Apare vasudevasya devakyam yachito abhyagat. Vasudeva and Devaki have prayed for the Lord, and therefore he took birth as their child. And here again there is a apparent contradiction, just as in the last words. The last time it said Ajam Jatam. These were the words of contradiction last time. Ajam Jatam. It is actually a poetic contradiction. If you see, the words are appearing right next to each other. Ajam Jatam. Ajam meant unborn, and Jatam means being born. Right? So Ajam Jatam are two words which appear to be contradictory. In Hindi, I don't know how many of you have studied Hindi. I'm sure it is there in Sanskrit also, but since I studied Hindi, it jumps out like that. It is called Virodhabhas Alankar. I don't know if you have studied Virodhabhas. It's a juxtaposition of two apparently contradictory principles to explain something very poetically. And in this verse, if you see, there is also two apparently contradictory words which are placed right next to each other. Abhyagat, Ajaha. Abhyagat is translated as took birth, and Ajaha is unborn. And the previous verse, Ajam Jatam. You see how they are reversed? In the previous verse, the unborn word comes first. Ajam Jatam. Jatam is born. So unborn, born. And in this verse, born,
unborn. So not only are the words contradictory, but in the subsequent verses, the words are also interchanged. Just see the beauty of this, of these poetic, literary greatness of these works. It's just something that you wouldn't expect, and yet if you carefully observe and maintain the continuity, you can relish these kinds of poetic literary works, of course, which is only superficial. There is much more deeper transcendental meanings in these verses, but this is just something that one should not leave behind, thinking that these are just literary things, and it's part of the enjoyment that you can have in reading Bhagavatam. So Vasudevasya Devakyam Yachito Abhyagat, he took birth after having been prayed for by Vasudeva and Devaki. Ajastvam Asya Kshemaya, Tvam Asya Kshemaya, for their welfare. And then, so the first one is the first reason why he took birth for Vasudeva and Devaki is that they prayed for him, and he took birth for their welfare. And then what's the second reason that's given here? To kill those who are envious of the demigods. So this is the second reason. Vadhaya cha suradvisham. Sura is demigods, dvisha is enviousness, suradvisham. Vadhaya cha suradvisham. So very, very simple but very beautifully composed verse. So let us go a little deeper into this verse. We have all studied the Krishna book, where there's a beautiful description of the appearance of the Lord, and we have also did some skits on that, and so you all remember this art where the Lord first appears in the four-handed form, and Vasudeva offers wonderful prayers to the Lord, and that is followed by prayers by Devaki also, who is worried that the Lord, who is appearing in four-handed form, will be immediately recognized as the Lord Vishnu by Kamsa, and he will attack, he'll try to kill him, just as he has killed all his predecessors. And as a mother, of course, she sees the Lord appearing with four-handed forms who cannot be killed. But Devaki is playing the role of a mother here, and she is very much concerned for his well-being, and she says, can you please transform yourself into an ordinary child? If you're like this, then definitely Kamsa is going to take you and snatch you away. You played the role of Devaki Mataji. Remember your child during practice also. So many times your child was snatched away from you. Not only during the actual skit, but during practice also. So mother knows very well and is very much concerned. It doesn't matter if Vishnu is also born, but child is a child. So immediately she requests him to transform into an ordinary child. Then Krishna speaks. So first he addresses Devaki, because Devaki is the person who spoke. First Vasudeva offers prayers, and then Devaki offers prayers. Now Krishna is responding. So he's still in his four-handed form, and he addresses Mother Devaki first, and then he addresses Vasudeva also. So he gives them some context about their background. After having received the prayers, now Krishna is responding, and he says that this is not the first time that you have been my parents. You have been my parents previously also. And he gives their names as to what their names were the previous time that they were Krishna's parent. And how did that happen? How did that come about? So Vasudeva was a person by the name Sutapa in a previous millennium. That was in the millennium of Swayambhuva Manu. Currently, which millennium is going on? Which Manvantara is going on right now? Vaivasvata Manvantara. So there is prior to this, there is there are various other Manvantaras, and in the beginning of the sequence of Manvantaras, there is Swayambhuva Manu. So the whole sequence of Manvantaras, there are 14 periods of Manu, and the first Manu begins with Swayambhuva Manu. So during the period of Swayambhuva Manu, Vasudeva appeared as Sutapa, and Devaki appeared as Prishni. So Krishna says that at that time they had undertaken severe austerities. There is a very nice verse that I would like to go over, because I think it sheds some light on what is it that somebody has to go through to obtain the Supreme Lord as their child. So this verse occurs in Srimad Bhagavatam in the 10th canto, 3rd chapter, 34th and 35th verses. Varsha Vatapta Hima Gharma Kala Gunan Anu Sahamano Swasha Rodha Vinirdhuta Mano Malau Shirna Parnanilav Harav Upashantena Chetasa Matta Kaman Abhipshantau Mad Aradhanam Ihatu. So some of these words we can relate to because of the specific current winter that we are experiencing in New England. Varsha, rains. Vata is wind, strong winds. So these are not like, Varsha means we should not think some slight drizzle is coming and stopping. Vata means not like some nice gentle breeze is blowing. It's not like that. Varsha means heavy downpour. That's what it means here, heavy rains. And then Vata refers to strong winds, very like cyclonic winds. Tapa is heat. Sun, actually, Tapa is strong sunshine. Hima is extreme cold. Gharma is extreme heat. All these different climatic conditions they endured. Sahamano Shwasa Rodha. Swasa is breath. So they control their breathing process through the process of pranayama. Vinirdhuta Manomalau. By performing these, what happened? Normally we think that, oh, this winter weather is so severe and it's so painful. Or others may think that summer is extremely scorching heat, we cannot tolerate. And sometimes our mind becomes disturbed because of that. We think that this cold is not suitable for human beings. We should go to some warmer place, maybe like Florida, some place like that, and settle down there, where we have come and got stuck in this New England. Like that sometimes people think like that. And for us, our mind gets disturbed. But actually, the effect of performing this yoga process and tolerating these conditions, what has happened to Sutapa and Vrishni? Vinirdhuta Mano Malau. Because of this practice, actually their heart became cleansed. Their mind became cleansed. That is the actual effect of tolerating these adversities in our life. These adversities of Varsha, Vata, Atapa. It is not Tapa, it is Atapa. Atapa, Hima, Gharma, all these climatic variations. And similarly in our life there is happiness, distress, insult, praise. All these things when we tolerate, the effect is not that now we are in bottled up anger or bottled up frustration. That is not the result of it. If we tolerate them with a spiritual perspective, then the result is that our mind, our consciousness becomes purified. And then the result of purified mind, what happened after that? Shirina Paranan Anilarhav Harav. So they ate only those leaves which are fallen to the ground. What happened? Upashantena Chetasa. Very peaceful consciousness. The mind became extremely peaceful because of all this. With that peaceful mind, Mattah Kaman Abhipshantau, they prayed to the Lord, Mad Aradhanam Ituhu. So I've already gone through those words. My dear father and mother, you endured rain, wind, strong sun, scorching heat, and severe cold, suffering all sorts of inconvenience according to different seasons, by practicing pranayama to control the air within the body through the yoga, and by eating only air and dry leaves fallen from the trees. You cleansed from your minds all dirty things. In this way, desiring a benediction from me, you worship me with peaceful minds. And this meditation was done by Sutapa and Prishni, not for 1 day or 2 days, but for 12,000 years. For 12,000 years. So they did this process for 12,000 years by celestial calculations. But of course, they were not on planet Earth. Sutapa was the son of Brahma. So they were in the celestial planets, and their duration of life is very, very long. And they have done this prolonged austerity, undertaken this austerity to obtain the Supreme Lord as their son. Now, there is a very interesting purport, a snippet, which I want to share from this verse. Prabhupada says, we should be careful to understand that to get Krishna as one's son, one must undergo such great austerities. If we want to get Supreme Personality of Godhead to become one of us in the material world, this requires great penance. So it is not easy to get Supreme Lord as a son. But just because we think that by 12,000 years meditation, by eating only air, is very difficult for us, and tolerating all this wind and all, very difficult. So it looks like this process is not meant for us. So he says, no, don't worry, you're not on the track. But if you want to go back to Krishna, if you want to get him as your child, there is one standard. But if you want to simply go back to Krishna, then that is not so difficult. That is a much easier process. Tyaktva deham punarjanmaneti mameti suarjuna. We only need to understand him and love him. Through love only, we can very easily go back home, back to Godhead. So this verse 4.9, what is the first line of that? The second line is written here. Tyaktva deham punarjanmaneti mameti suarjuna. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham. So we have to only understand him. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti, one who knows. So we have to understand him and love him. Through love only we can easily go back home, back to Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore declared, Prema Pumartho Mahan, love of Godhead is the highest achievement for anyone. So from the point of 12,000 years of penance, Prabhupada has shown us a much simpler path, following the footsteps of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this simple path is achievable for anyone. Love of Godhead is the highest achievement for anyone. Of course, Prema Pumartho Mahan, that's the highest possible. But that process is also achievable by anyone. And further, Prabhupada continues, in this age we are fallen, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead has appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to bestow upon us love of Godhead directly. This was appreciated by the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So if you see, going back home, back to Godhead also, if you are in our current consciousness, it seems very, very far away. And to say that I must understand Krishna, okay, maybe I understand, I read Krishna book, I read teachings of Queen Kunti Maharani, maybe I make attempts to understand, but how to develop love of Godhead? We have got love for everything else. We have love for food, we have love for enjoying our senses, we have love for comforts, nicely sitting, that too, we want like backrest. So how do we go from the stage of enjoying our senses to the stage of loving Krishna? Seems a very difficult path, although compared to what Sutapa and Prishni did, it is very easy, according to Prabhupada, teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Actually, it is by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that the path has been made very easy for us. And that's why he is called the most munificent incarnation. So Rupa Goswami has composed the prayer, Namo Mahavadanyaya, please repeat. Krishna Prema Pradayate, Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne, Gauratvishe Namaha. In this verse, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is described as Mahavadanyaya, the most munificent of charitable persons, because he gives Krishna so easily that one can attain Krishna simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We should therefore take advantage of the benediction given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and when by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, we are cleansed of all the dirty things, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, we shall be able to understand very easily that Krishna is the only object of love. Kirtanadeva Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Param Prajet. So, this chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the process that has been given to us by the most munificent incarnation, so that even ordinary persons like us, who are in the contaminated consciousness, in a conditioned state of contaminated consciousness, we can also develop pure love of God and go back home, back to Godhead in one lifetime. Which otherwise, as you see, for performing this, or obtaining this state, yogis and great yogis and jnanis had to perform severe austerities for many, many lifetimes. And if we don't take up to this activity, the situation that we are in, let us take a look at that. Because what is the current state of our society? Sometimes because we are regularly attending the classes, and we are coming to the temple, and we are in this, we have been given this very fortunate situation of attempting to transform our lives or mold our lives in rendering devotional service regularly. Sometimes over time we forget how the life is outside, and what kind of sufferings people are undergoing. So, to understand that, let us go to the second part of this verse, where Kunti Maharani is praying that you are also appearing to vadhaya cha suradvisham, to kill those who are envious to the demigods. As we try to understand that, I'll also go over the impact of not chanting Hare Krishna, not taking up to the process of devotional service, what is happening. And to understand that, let's just take a step into the second part, which is the part about where Krishna advents to kill those who are envious of the demigods, or the envious of the devotees. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuttanam adharmasya tadatmanam srijamyaham. And then of course next verse, Paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So in this, the translation of course is, whenever and wherever there is decline in religious practice or descendant of Bharata and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. So here there is a small, I guess, interesting information. I'll just take a small digression and come back to the topic. This is there in the purport of this verse. Although the Lord appears on schedule, namely at the end of Dwapara Yuga of the 28th millennium of the 8th Manu, in one day of Brahma. So this Lord's appearance, how fortunate we are that we are just 5,000 years away in the same millennium. And here the millennium is slightly different, because the word millennium is used in multiple contexts. This 28th millennium is the Mahayuga, or the sequence of Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga and Kali Yuga. This set of all these repeats many times in one period of Manu. So in this 8th Manu, Vaivashvata Manu, we are in the 28th such cycle, and he appears only once in the day of Brahma, and that is in the 28th millennium of the 8th Manu, Vaivasvata Manu. So just see how many times this combination of Satya Yuga and Treta Yuga and Dwapara Yuga and Kali Yuga repeats, right? How many times in one day of Brahma? How many times does it repeat in one day of Brahma? One answer I have got here, 2000, 2001, 2002. Any other takers? I'm auctioning the answer. 2001 bar, 2002 bar. No clarifications. I'm asking question, you have to answer. Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. This cycle, how many times does it repeat in one day of Brahma? Only once. It repeats only once in the day of Brahma. Okay, that is second answer. Any other answers? If on one spectrum we have 2000, another spectrum we have 1000. Is there anything in between? Anybody would like to try? Madhav? No? Correct answer is 1000. The correct answer. Sahasra Yuga Paryantam. So this cycle repeats 1000 times. That is the day of Brahma, and similarly the night of Brahma is no creation is there at the time, but the duration of that is same. But we cannot say that the period repeats because there's no period at the time, there's no creation. But the entire duration of night of Brahma is the same. So the answer is 1000. It's directly given in Bhagavad Gita. So out of 1000 such repetitions, only in one such repetition the Lord personally descends. And in that same millennium, 28th millennium of the 8th millennium, as soon as he appears, immediately thereafter the Lord descends as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we are just 500 years after that. So can you imagine how fortunate we are? Of course, Prabhupada continues, he has no obligation to adhere to such rules and regulations because he is completely free to act in many ways at his will. He therefore appears by his own will whenever there is predominance of religiosity and a disappearance of true religion. So coming back to our theme here, the Lord is appearing to vanquish Suradvisham, those who are envious of the devotees. But when does he appear? Dharmasya glanir. Dharmasya glanihi. So Dharmasya glani is translated by Prabhupada in the teachings of Queen Kunti as irregularities in religion. Irregularities in religion. This is how Prabhupada translates Dharmasya glani. Irregularities in religion. So irregularity in religion means there is something called regular religion and there is some irregularity that is introduced. And so what is considered regular religion? We need to understand what is regular religion so that we may understand what irregularity means. So Prabhupada explains that regular religion means that there should be a balance between material life and spiritual life. See, the very fact that the spirit soul, which is completely spiritual, all of us are spirit souls, and spirit soul is completely spiritual. There's no tinge of material contamination in the spirit soul itself, right? The soul is completely spirit. But somehow or the other we have gotten into this body. And because we have gotten into this body, we have to maintain this body. And what do we have to do to maintain this body? We have to earn a livelihood, right? We have to work to maintain the body. We have to eat. We have to wear proper clothes. We have to protect this body from the various elements because we only have so much tolerance for heat and cold. There is no doubt. We have to do these things because we have been given this body. We are put inside this body. So there's no choice. We have to do it. But is the goal of our life only that? All we have to do is to simply take care of the body? Is that all the goal of life is? No. That's not the goal. That is similar to a couple of examples that Prabhupada gives. Let us say that we are all sitting like this, we are wearing our clothes, right? If somebody says that, let's say somebody has a child in their house and the child is given very nice clothes, and then the mother says, okay, your clothes have become dirty, you wore the same clothes yesterday, give me your old clothes, here are some new clothes, or I'll wash and give it to you. Nicely irons the clothes, nicely washes the clothes, gives new clothes. But in the meanwhile, child says, I'm hungry. And the mother says, no, 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 don't worry about all that. You wear new clothes. You wear fresh clothes. That's good enough. Will that be very sensible? No, the child needs actual food. Another example, this example Prabhupada is not given. Another example that Prabhupada is actually given is the example of bird in a cage. Look at this bird in the cage. Very nice, beautifully decorated cage. Every day this lady whose pet that parrot is, looks like a parrot to me, maybe some other bird. So let us say that lady comes and she has a nice cloth and she spends nice amount of time cleaning the cage. Every day she comes regularly on time, cleans the cage, all the droppings, bird droppings, whatever it is, it completely cleans. You see that bird cage looks very clean. There's not even one bird dropping at the bottom. You see that picture photo? Nothing, very, very clean. So the lady has been cleaning it very thoroughly. But she has forgotten to feed the bird. No food for the bird. Will the bird be very happy? That's not going to be very happy, right? So the actual living entity, the spirit soul, is being neglected by the society. And this body is being fed very nicely. Will the soul be happy? The soul is not going to be happy. So is there any doubt then that people in the society are anxious, sad, unhappy, distressed? Is there any surprise that that is the state of our society? There is no surprise, because we are not feeding the soul. The soul is getting shriveled, unhappy, not being taken care of at all. So the balance between taking care of the body, which is a necessity, and taking care of the soul, that balance is being lost. That is dharmasya glanihi. When this happens predominant rise, abhyutthanam adharmasya. There's a predominant rise of this imbalance between taking care of the body and taking care of the soul, when they become lopsided, like it is now in Kali Yuga, or any time when it happened in Dwapara Yuga, so the Lord advented. So whenever this happens, the Lord advents. Now the Lord has advented as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and He has given us the process for how to restore the balance. What is the process? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. This process of chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it acts within our heart to cleanse the heart on one hand. On the other hand, this process also feeds the soul. The soul, because of millions of lifetimes of neglect, it is not that only in this lifetime we are in this state. Our conditioned state has come here because millions and millions of lifetimes we have neglected to feed our soul. So imagine how, of course, soul has got no death. Therefore, whereas a parrot, if you don't feed for some time, it will die. But our soul is eternal. But imagine the state of the soul, which has not been fed for so many lifetimes. So we are currently, the soul is completely in a shriveled condition, and it is just very, very sad. Very sad condition because of our association with the matter. It is not able to taste the pleasure that it is used to tasting. Not able to taste that pleasure. So this condition is considered to be a diseased condition. It's a diseased condition. There is one very nice verse in Bhagavatam that talks about how one can treat the diseased condition. What is the treatment for diseased condition? This verse is Nivrittatarshayir upagiyamānād bhavaushadāchotra manobhirāmāt ka uttama shloka gunānuvādāt puman virajeta vina pashugnāt. Prabhupada says that to treat a disease, one needs two things. What are the two things a person needs to treat a disease? We need proper diet and medicine. So the proper diet in the process of Krishna consciousness is Krishna Prasadam. We take Krishna Prasadam, that is the proper diet. And chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, that is the medicine. But this verse is talking about a apparently slightly different medicine, and I want to show you how they are actually the same. Nivritta tarshair upagiyamanat bhavaushadha chotra mano abhirama. So bhavaushadha, this medicine, aushadha, is obtained by oral reception. The medicine goes in by oral reception. And what oral reception of what is being talked? What is being talked about here is Srimad Bhagavatam. Ka uttama shloka gunanvad. Who is that person who would not give this oral reception? And the person who does not do it is Pashugnath, or a soul killer. Because this process of oral reception to Bhagavatam is so wonderful, according to this verse, that it is the perfect medicine, the perfect remedy for the conditioned soul. So one may ask, okay, previously you are saying that Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the medicine, and here we are saying that hearing of Bhagavatam is the medicine. How are the two related? We'll see that. So the translation to this verse is, glorification of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is performed in the Parampara system. That is, it is conveyed from spiritual master to the disciple. Such glorification is relished by those no longer interested in the false temporary glorification of cosmic manifestation. Description of the Lord are the right medicine for the conditioned soul undergoing repeated birth and death. Therefore, who will cease hearing such glorification of the Lord except a butcher or one who is killing his own self? So Prabhupada says that Bhagavatam, there are two kinds of Bhagavatam. What are the two kinds of Bhagavatam or Bhagavata? One is book Bhagavata and the other is person Bhagavata. So one is a book Bhagavata and the other is a person Bhagavata. Everyone in this material world is hankering for enjoyment, but one who is free from this hankering can taste how relishable Bhagavatam is. The word Bhagavata refers to anything in relation to Bhagavan. The Supreme Lord, the Hare Krishna mantra, is also Bhagavata. So here there is a new definition of Bhagavatam or Bhagavata. The word Bhagavata refers to anything in relation to Bhagavan. That's the definition. Thus Parikshit Maharaj said that the taste of Bhagavata can be relished by one who is free. But why should this Bhagavata be tasted? Bhava Ushadi. It is the medicine for our disease of birth and death. But I would like to draw your attention again. Hare Krishna mantra is also Bhagavata. And let this sink in a little bit, because frequently we understand Bhagavata. Of course, Srimad Bhagavatam is non-different from the Lord. Krishna himself is incarnated. But Bhagavata speaker, we consider that to be a pure devotee. Generally, when we say Bhagavata, person Bhagavata is a pure devotee who is speaking Bhagavatam, like Shukadeva Goswami. But here, there is a slight nuance to the definition. The word Bhagavata refers to anything in relation to Bhagavan. So naturally, pure devotee is in strong, pure, unadulterated relation to Bhagavan. And therefore, there is no doubt that such a pure devotee is Bhagavata. But anything in relation to Bhagavan is Bhagavata. And of course, Hare Krishna Mahamantra is Bhagavan himself. Abhinnatvam nama namino. And therefore, this verse, Bhavoshadha chotra manobhiramat, applies to Hare Krishna Mahamantra also. So the Aushadha, or the medicine, being Bhagavatam, is true, and similarly, this medicine being Hare Krishna Mahamantra is also true on the strength of this verse. However, our taste for hearing and chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra and taste for Bhagavatam is very limited. And I will just quote two verses and one powerful quote by Srila Prabhupada, and I will stop with that. Our current state of consciousness is not one that has an attraction for Bhagavatam or Bhagavata. especially not in the form of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We are doing because we have been told to do. We are forcing ourselves to chant, sit in one place, chant, hear. We keep repeatedly, we have to keep hearing. Anyone who has tried to follow the Soulful Japa module would definitely know it's not a straightforward process to lock our attention onto the hearing of the holy names, because our consciousness is a crow consciousness. You have seen crows. Crows are always going after garbage. So in Bhagavatam, there is mention of crows, and the crows are always going after garbage. And that is our current consciousness. We are more interested in news of politics, cricket, sports, things like that. Not really interested in Bhagavatam. So Bhagavatam has a verse for this. Na yad vachas chitra padam harer yasho jagat pavitram praghanita karhichit tadvayasam tirtham ushanti manasa nayatra hamsa niramanti usikshayah. These verses have been quoted by Srila Prabhupada in the chapter on this particular verse in Queen Kunti's teachings. So this, that literature, yad vachas chitrapadam harer yasho, so that literature or work of art which does not glorify the Lord, is considered manasa, is considered to be like the pilgrimage for crows. Very, very poetic expression. Like just like devotees go for pilgrimages, crows also go for pilgrimages. Where do you think crows will go for pilgrimage? Not just trash can is their normal food, but if they want to go on a special pilgrimage, where will they go? Yeah, some central garbage collection place, correct? Some nice place. I know in Nashua there is one place where all people of Nashua can come and dump. I don't think in Shrewsbury there is any such place. But imagine such a place where there's a recycling plant or something where all the dump is coming there, right? That will be such a nice place of pilgrimage for the crows. So our consciousness is like that. We want not just small politics news, but we want actually to congregate and enjoy that garbage news in its wholesale, wherever it's available in wholesale. So that is the state of consciousness. But on the other hand, there is also a description of swans. How are swans described in Bhagavatam? Tadvag visargo janataga viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abadhavatyapi namani anantasya yasho ankitani yas shrunvanti gayanti grinanti sadhavah. So actually the previous verse is also talking about swans. Nayatra hamsa niramanti usikshaya. The swans, they don't take pleasure in such garbage. The swans like clear water, right? They don't like garbage areas. So Srimad Bhagavatam, the swans take pleasure in Srimad Bhagavatam, or that literature which, even though it may have some irregularities, some faults, some irregularly composed, but so long as it is glorifying the Supreme Lord, that such literature can bring about revolution in our lives. It is that literature that swans take effort in. So we have to go from, currently we are in crow consciousness, and we have to go to swan consciousness. What is the process to be adopted? Prabhupada says, one very wonderful verse. So the Krishna consciousness movement is meant for swan-like men, not for the men who are like crows. But we can convert crows into swans. That is our philosophy. Those who are crows are now swimming like swans. That is the benefit of Krishna consciousness movement. So if we want to convert from our crow consciousness into swan consciousness, so that we may not become one of the Suradvisham that are meant to be vanquished by the Lord, but rather we become one of the sadhus, paritranaya sadhunam, that sadhus who are protected by the Lord. If we want to feel the protection of the Lord and not the annihilation of the Lord, then we have to convert ourselves from crow consciousness to swan consciousness. How do we do that? It's a process of Krishna consciousness. So I'll stop here and see if you have any questions, comments. Yes, Prabhu. Envious of demigods. And the devotees, yeah. Hmm. Actually, so let me just repeat your question for everyone. Your question is that if somebody who is not envious of the Lord, but is envious to the devotee of the Lord, and will the Lord kill such a person also? That's your question, right? Did I get the question right? Reverse. Somebody is not envious to the devotee of the Lord, but is envious to the Lord. Will he destroy them also? So you are talking about a person who's envious to the Lord, but he is very friendly to the devotee of the Lord. In programming, we have something called truth table. Have you heard of truth table? What is truth table? Yeah, correct. Yeah. So I think what you're trying to draw in your head is a truth table. There is a devotee, there is a Lord, there is envious, there is non-envious. So you're putting the checks, but actually some of these are invalid combinations. If a person is envious to the Lord, there is no way he'll be friendly to a devotee. A person who is, in your example, what was your example again? Is friendly to the devotee but envious to the Lord. Correct? Yeah, correct. So if a person is envious to the Lord, there is no way he'll be he'll be very happy, embrace a devotee, because devotee to him, whenever a person sees a devotee, what do you see? Why do we wear tilak? When you see a devotee, you are reminded of the Lord. A devotee is tadiya. Anything connected to the Lord is a Bhagavatam. We just saw that, right? Bhagavata, definition of Bhagavata. So anything that is in relationship to the Lord is reminding you of the Lord only. And therefore, when an envious person who is envious of the Lord, and all of us are envious of the Lord, that's why we are here in this material world. And our process of Hare Krishna Mahamantra chanting is for treating the disease. So we have to assume that because we are envious to the Lord, a natural corollary of that is we are envious of the devotees. We are envious. Because to us, it may not be obvious to you, may not be obvious, but it's a fact. That is politeness. We cannot confuse politeness with non-enviousness. Politeness is different from, for example, in Krishna book, when Kamsa calls Akrura to go and get Krishna and Balaram, do you think he would not have known that Akrura is a devotee, or that he is favorable to Krishna and Balaram? It is not mentioned explicitly, but you should see how Kamsa talks to Akrura. Very polite. Very, very polite. He'll say, I'm taking shelter of your lotus feet. He'll say like that to Akrura. And then he'll say, please go and get Krishna and Balaram, and here is exactly how I'm going to kill them. I'll first get them. There will be a Kuvalaya Pida will be there in the front. If somehow or the other they escape Kuvalaya Pida, then all these wrestlers will be here in the waiting for Krishna and Balaram. They'll jump on them and they'll kill them. So I made all the arrangements. It's going to be a wonderful spectacle. Now you please go and get Krishna and Balaram so that they may be killed. And then he explains in detail how he'll enjoy and have a partnership with all, Narakasura, Banasura, and Jarasandha, and all these other people. And all of this is describing to Akrura with great respect and reverence. And what is Akrura's heart? What's his condition? He is a pure devotee. Correct? He is on the way, he is completely thinking. So a devotee cannot remain hidden like that. And there's no doubt Kamsa is choosing Akrura because he has, Krishna and Balaram will not protest. If Akrura goes, definitely he'll bring Krishna and Balaram. That's not going to be any issue in that. So like this, diplomacy is one of the creepers that has been described in Chaitanya Charitamrita that grows along with the creeper of bhakti even for a devotee. What to speak of a non-devotee? Devotee means I'm talking aspiring. Sadhaka, right, as we are chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and we are trying to grow the Bhakti Lata creeper, there are some creepers, unwanted creepers that come along with that. Nishiddhachara, Jiva Himsana, Kutinati is one of them, diplomacy. So even for a sadhaka, we are being advised, hey, watch out for this diplomacy where you're thinking something in your heart but you're speaking some words. Then imagine the condition of somebody who is completely outside the circle of Krishna consciousness. Diplomacy is part of life. Haven't you had situation where you're speaking to your boss in your work, and are all your words always representative of your deepest emotions towards your boss? Our co-workers for that matter. We routinely lie at the face of everybody all around us. That is the material world we live in. So a person who is envious of the Lord cannot be a friend of the devotees. Any other questions? Stop here. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jagat Guru Shila Prabhu